Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be comparing an i7-4790 and i5-7400, the AMD Ryzen 1400 with and without overclock, all those four options, on synthetic tests plus rendering. To skip to any of the tests, check the timestamps down in the description. First I'll be doing HandBrake, converting a video file, then I'll be doing Premiere Pro using media encoder for the export, using software renderer and CUDA. After that, CineBench R15 with single core and multi-core, and then a CPU test from AsRock, and finally the CPU-C benchmark with its respective links. I'll be showing everything with graphs and all that kind of stuff. Since I won't be recording all that stuff, the video will be over 30 minutes long. To check the specs of all the PCs I'm using, check the description below. Everything there is listed, plus Amazon affiliate links if you want to support the channel. So let's start with the tests. So first, as you can see, HandBrake, I'm going to be doing 1080p, H.264 at 60 frames per second, constant frame rate, quality at 22. Everything here is using seconds. Then for the Premiere Pro rendering tests, I'm going to be using CUDA and then the software rendering. So as you can see there, it finished the software rendering. In this case, I'm using the i5-7400 just to show you what I'm doing to get the times. So as you can see, when I open CPU-Z, you'll see that I'm using the i5 in this case. And to get the time that it took to do the export, I just go into the log files in documents for the media encoder. As you can see there, documents. And there you can see how long it took to do the test. As you can see there, that's how I got all my numbers. Doing the export using a GTX 1060, the i5-7400 took much longer. It almost doubled the time compared to the overclocked Ryzen 5. And finally, the i7-4790 took 323.183 seconds, which I found interesting because on the Ryzen 5 1400 overclocked, it took a little less time. After that, I did a software only test. I don't really know what's going on here, but you can see the graph there. It's not a huge difference. So for rendering, it seems to be a very good CPU compared with the i5, and on some cases, using CUDA is very close to the i7. I ran this test like 4 times to be sure, and the numbers were always similar. Then we tested CineBench using both the CPU on multi-core and single core. As you can see there, I'm in the single core part of the overclock one. For some reason it says Windows 8, I'm using Windows 10. AMD Ryzen 5 1400 quad-core processor, the overclock one, got 823. Without overclock, it got 698. It was below the 4790 without overclocking, and the i5-7400 got 560 points on multi-core. Then swapping to the single core tests. As you can see, the Ryzen 5 1400 with overclock is still 1 point below the i5, and without the overclock we are at 136. Again, I ran this test many times too, and I used the higher score I got. Then I tested this application from AsRock, I think it is, which does tests to the CPU, and this is Ryzen 5 with overclock. As you can see, it got 10,090 points. I'm going to run CPU-Z so you can see what I'm using. And as you can see there, I'm using the Ryzen 5 1400 at 3.8 GHz. And it got a very high score. I was kind of surprised too. Here you can see the graph for the CPU test score. As you can see, the overclocked Ryzen 5 was close to the i7. And there you can see all the scores and each sub-score that built the big one. And finally, I did the benchmark from CPU-C. As you can see there, I'm testing the Ryzen 5 1400. I think that this test is with the overclock in place. And as you can see, compared with the 4790 at 4 GHz, it's doing pretty nice if this test is accurate. But I submitted the test with all my CPUs. And you can see here, 9,930 on the overclocked version. But yeah, you can see all the scores there. It was over the i7-4790 for some reason. But you can find the links to all these tests from CPU-Z down in the description. I validated all the tests so you can see them online. You can see all the specs that were used, all that kind of stuff from CPU-Z. So again, check the links in the description to check out that information and the scores and all that kind of stuff from CPU-Z. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.